Hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today around Project Lead the Way high school programs. My name is Andrea Holsworth, and I serve as the Vice President of Sales Enablement and Customer Operations at Project Lead the Way. Today, we welcome educators across the country to discover how PLTW provides an exceptional learning experience for students and to share with you how to make programs possible through a wide range of available funding opportunities. But before we begin, I'm going to start us off with some housekeeping tips on how to maximize your webinar experience. Video and chat have been enabled for this webinar, so please feel free to interact and engage throughout our time together. Feel free to say hi in the chat, share with us where you're from. Zoom breakout sessions will be utilized during this event. When the time comes, a button will pop up for you to select your breakout room of choice. Please join the breakout room for the PLTW program, biomedical science, computer science, or engineering that you'd like to learn more about. Since we all know Zoom can be a little bit finicky sometimes, we also ask that you edit your name and add which pathway breakout room you'd like to move to. To do this, simply click the three little dots that appear next to your video and select Rename. So, for example, for me, I would put Andrea Holsworth, PLTW Biomedical Science. By doing this, if there are any issues with our self-selecting of a breakout room, our moderator can move you to the correct room. Well, now that housekeeping's been taken care of, let's get right into our agenda for the day. Today, we're going to give you a brief introduction to Project Lead the Way and what it can provide to you and to your students. We'll have a discussion with a panel of PLTW administrators about the difference PLTW has made for their students and what successes they've had themselves. We'll also talk to them about how they've implemented PLTW programs in their districts. After hearing from your peers, we'll go into breakout rooms where you'll dive into the specific pathway of your choice. Again, computer science, biomedical science, or engineering. And once you are in those breakout rooms, you'll hear details about that PLTW program, hear directly from students about their experience, and then engage in a conversation with a PLTW teacher in that specific pathway. We'll also share implementation steps and, again, some various funding options for your school. And finally, we're going to round out our time together by answering any questions that you may have. But to get us started, here's a brief introduction video to Project Lead the Way.
The history of Project Lead the Way, it started in upstate New York, just north of Albany in the Shenandoah School District, which is just between Albany and Saratoga there. There was a really innovative teacher there, a guy by the name of Dick Blaze. He had implemented project-based learning in the STEM fields. My uncle was the first one to see it. I'm not sure how he ended up walking into that classroom, but the moment he saw it, he said, this is something that's really interesting. He owned a manufacturing company and was really concerned, as was my grandfather, that we weren't generating enough students who could actually go to work in technical fields. When they saw that classroom, they said, how do we replicate this? How do we make it bigger than this one classroom? And that was sort of the seeds of Project Lead the Way. Project Lead the Way 25 years ago was one teacher in one classroom. When I first got involved and my uncle got involved, we said, this would be great if we could just get it in every high school in upstate New York. Like that would be like a huge win. My grandfather had the vision of this is something the entire country needs. And how do we do that? We couldn't do it on our own. The key to this, the expansion of Project Lead the Way, is that all across the country, there were other people who saw this vision, and they just over time aligned to create Project Lead the Way in a way that is today, which is at a scale that none of us could have imagined 25 years ago. Bob Kern, who was a founder of Generac, a big company in Milwaukee, Bob saw the same problem. He was trying to do the same work in Milwaukee. When Bob and Jim Ryan got behind it, that's really when Project Lead the Way moved west and started to create a national footprint.
January of 2009, the Kern Family Foundation made the first of several significant investments, not in individual schools, but in the infrastructure of Project Lead the Way National, to say what would happen if they had the school engagement force, the curriculum team, the other kind of a workforce that they would need to really get the growth of PLTW moving. So when the foundation began its interface with PLTW, PLTW was in roughly 300 schools. Today it's over 12,000, almost 13,000 and growing. So that's worked out pretty well. Went from being a boutique program that was housed in the vocational technical education wing of the high school or middle school into a program that's now in many places been brought right into the main hub. When you think of Launch and Gateway, this is all students. This is not just a program for some. That mindset then has led to, the kinds of teacher training that's necessary to allow Project Lead the Way to be taught by teachers coming from a variety of different disciplines.
One of the first summers I was doing training with a master teacher, and I got up and I lectured for 40 minutes. And afterwards, Bob says to me, "Boy, you really know your material. You're outstanding. You can never do that again." That's not how we teach at the high school level. That's not how we can teach the summer training. And I was like, he's absolutely right. So this really changed how I teach in my career.
Project Lead the Way is enabling the next generation workforce to be ready for the challenges and to be ready for the opportunities and the possibility for growth yet ahead. Project Lead the Way is a comprehensive curriculum for students and for teachers. And the foundation provides confidence and empowerment so that the students feel like the possible truly is possible because they are rooted in a solid foundation.
Every time I hear that video and watch it, it just leaves me inspired to be a PLTW team member doing the work that we get to do and support schools and districts across the country. And as you just saw, the PLTW classroom experience engages students. It ignites their passion and fuels their planning. Time and time again, we hear stories about how relevant and inspiring PLTW is to students. Just recently, 4 PLTW students became published scientists after identifying 4 new novel gene sequences. Research shows that PLTW students outperform their peers in school, are better prepared for those post-secondary studies, and are more likely to consider careers in STEM fields compared to their non-PLTW peers. So often we hear students who normally don't step forward are the ones who shine in a PLTW classroom and discover future career paths. We also hear how teachers who've reached a burnout point have been reinvigorated once they've had a chance to teach PLTW. All across the US, the stories are consistent. PLTW's research-proven, hands-on, problem-based curriculum unlocks students' and teachers' potential. We know, though, that proof holds more power when coming from your peers. So today, we've brought alongside us some administrators from across the country to share with you their PLTW experience. So thank you so much to our panelists for being here today. Joining us today for our discussion is Cole Atkinson, Director of STEM from Moore Norman Technology Center in Oklahoma. We also have with us Dwayne Robertson, CTE Director, Antelope Valley Union High School in California. And lastly, we have Sherry Worsham, Director of Program Development, Grants, and Community Partnerships in Grenada School District in Mississippi. Well, thank you for all 3 of you for being here and spending your time and sharing your expertise and experience with us. First, I'll tee up Cole, you for this first question. Can you share with us just a little bit on what value Project Lead the Way has brought to your school and your students?
Yeah, I mean, PLTW's brought structure, organizational skills, communication skills, allowing students to be creative, solve problems using critical thinking. And another aspect is they get to learn how to collaborate and work with others and really develop, leadership and confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Cole. Sherry, what about you in Mississippi? What is the value that you've seen for your students?
Well, I have 2 ideas about that. One, which is top of mind, is engaging. We really want our students to be interested in developing a deeper understanding of STEM so that they can apply that to making good career choices or things that they can contribute to in our community as time goes on. So emphasizing all that practical skill, the knowledge that goes with that, and connecting that to local industry, business, jobs, careers is just a really valuable part of what PLTW brings, and just being relevant to industry too, because we like the fact that our students are engaged. But we equally like the fact that our industry partners, because we have a strong partnership here with industry, that they value that too, right? They value what we're bringing. So that's 2 points, the students being engaged. And then the reverse, our community respecting, what we're doing and bringing as opportunities to the school.
Yeah, absolutely, Sherry. I love that. A lot of times we talk about that community engagement is really some of that power of PLTW. And I love what you said too around the industry partners, seeing this as workforce development, right? That's the next generation sitting in those classrooms. Thanks, Sherry. Dwayne, what about you? What kind of value have you seen from Project Lead the Way?
Thank you. One of the benefits and the value that I've seen is, in a word, I would say consistency. And what I mean by that is that from one school to the next, I know that the curriculum is going to be consistent. We have a very high transient student population, and they will move from one side of town to the other side of town. And knowing that we have the same curriculum going in those two schools, that they can just, once they just transfer right in, and it's not unfamiliar. The aerospace engineering curriculum at one school is the same as the other. So that is a huge benefit. Not to mention that we also leverage the equipment that we buy because of that consistency. That is huge. And also knowing that our teachers have the same training. Again, from one school to the next. We have 8 comprehensive school sites in our district. So knowing that once they go through Project Lead the Way training, all those teachers are getting the same training. They're basically on the same level. That helps as well. And then lastly, if I may, the collaboration that we're able to do within those industry sectors. Because once again, the benefit is that the projects are consistent, the assignments are consistent, the LMS that we use, the equipment that they buy, all that is consistent across the board. So that's a huge value and benefit.
Yeah, thank you. I love that you within your district also build that professional learning community with all the PLTW teachers because of the consistency. And we always say the power of PLTWs in the network. As you saw, there's 90-some thousand teachers trained in Project Lead the Way. And once you've been through that professional development, you're really part of that larger network. Cole, I know your district or your school in Oklahoma, you've had a number of teachers trained with Project Lead the Way over the years. Can you speak to some of that professional development, what you've seen it's done for your teachers?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been lucky enough. We actually have, I think, 5 engineers that are teachers that have gone back, got their education degree. But I have teachers that were not engineers, and, some of our most successful students are there. So the training, they really feel well prepared. And they end up being facilitators. And again, the curriculum is so good and so engaging that they, again, like you said, they enjoy coming to school and teaching every day.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives that reinvigorates sometimes. They've hit that point. Dwayne, what about you? What have you seen with that professional development? I know you said it's consistent, which is really powerful for your school district. Is there anything else that sticks out to you for that professional development?
Again, I would say collaboration, because what we do is based on the profile or industry sector. When we have those meetings, those teachers are able to bounce ideas off of each other during those professional developments, and also align their lessons together. Once again, just because of the consistency. And one of the things that we've done recently is we sent a couple teachers have taken advantage of the refresher training that is offered. So I was kind of surprised about that. And I was like, yeah, it's been a while since you've been trained in your area. And they just took the refresher course as part of a PD, which I found was really good.
Yeah, I love that they're reinvesting in themselves and their learning as they continue to go on. Well, Sherry, I have another question for you. I know that you have seen a number of students during your time with your district and seen the value, but do you have any aha moments to share with us that you've heard from students or teachers during your implementation? Oh, I'm sorry, Sherry. You're on mute.
I got you. I got to get back in the groove for muting
Yeah.
and unmuting. It's been a while since I've been virtual. But yes, there are several aha moments. But I did want to speak to what Dwayne just said too about teachers, because I found that the teachers they really need, the training. It's wonderful. Getting the curriculum is so supportive of what the teacher's doing. And then we try to provide the teachers here with experiences in industry on purpose. We build those partnerships, and we're trying to make the site visits. And it's kind of an aha thing too, which is kind of ties that in. And that is the teachers, when they've been through the PLTW training, they're working on the high school curriculum in their classes, and then they have an opportunity to work with business and industry. I mean, they're like, we get it. You know what I mean? There's an aha for teachers where they make that connection to or a better understanding of why they are in the role. They're not so, isolated anymore in their classrooms when we give them those experiences. And that's kind of what PLTW is all about, those experiences and hands-on learning. And that brings me to the students and the students' aha. I find that to be when students are really challenged. Sometimes it's hard to overcome a point of frustration because it won't work the first time, or you can't get that easy answer. And sometimes, I used to work in gifted education. Really bright kids get super frustrated because typically everything comes so easily to them, right? And so if they get into this unstructured problem and they've got to have a project or something they develop to solve it, hopefully it doesn't work on the first go, right? And then they've got to learn that, I can do this. I can overcome an obstacle, and that learning to take careful risk with new things is an important part of what we need to provide for our students. And PLTW lets it happen in the project-based learning and the way everything is set up in the curriculum. It just supports that.
Yeah, absolutely, Sherry. I love that. The careful risk of what you said and that fail forward mindset, getting students prepared for that. Cole, I saw you nodding your head quite a bit. Is there anything else you want to add to that or share an aha moment on top of it?
Well, I would just agree with everything that she said, but we hear students talk all the time about how the PLTW is tied to all the other math and science courses, and how they actually get to see what they're learning in other classes, actually how it works in the real world, and just how it builds a really strong foundation for them to be successful in those core math and science classes, because of the skills they're getting to apply that they learn in math and science to the real world. And then it makes it easier. We had a senior talk to our sophomores about, she was in AP chemistry and she was the only one that had an easy time because she already knew the formulas, because she had done them in aerospace engineering, and she had done that as a junior and was in AP chemistry as a senior. So
yeah, absolutely. I love that. The rigor and relevance that kind of is what it brings to the table. Absolutely. Well, Dwayne, I want to switch gears here just a little bit. A minute ago, you had mentioned that your equipment and supplies that you utilize is consistent for you across the district. Can you share with us how you funded your implementation of Project Lead the Way at your district, and how you maybe continue to fund it?
Yes, our business office works a little bit of magic. So I'm sure a lot of districts do. But basically our big buckets are, we use Perkins, we use K-12 workforce, and we use CTIG as well. So they do the, this hand over to this hand, over to this hand, over to this hand, and that's how we're able to fund it. Also, our district use targeted funds as well. We call it principal allocation. So the principals use some of their site funding as well. Whatever we can cover under the CTE umbrella is covered from the site, from the principal. And that's basically how we're able to do it, whether it's coming from open POs for Lowe's and Home Depot, for the funding that we do at the beginning of the school year through the Project Lead the Way store, field trips, all those areas that are utilized within those classes. They found a way to dip into the correct bucket to get it done. So that's where we are.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. I love that magic you talked about. There's a lot of PLTW implementation that uses those Perkins funds for sure. Sherry, what about you? How do you fund your program?
I have to say, we began in 2016 with a very strong funding start, and I highly recommend that if it's at all possible. I've seen successful PLTW programs grow out of that teacher getting a grant in that one classroom and others beginning to build on a small success. I'm all about that. But seeing a school board and administration at the top of a district buy into PLTW and allot funding for it to build out completely well-equipped, well-trained programs across the district. That's been my experience. And it's allowed the district to maintain and sustain that program much more easily over time, to have had the buy-in from the beginning. Now, another part of sustaining the program, because we're not offering PLTW in CTE world, so we don't have the Perkins, some of those funds, and we've had to look at it differently. Our programs here are purely in the academic realm. So we have partnerships with industry. That's just part of what the small community has always done. I mean, for years before PLTW. So we try to leverage things like our partners, and we have showcases very regularly where we invite industry in. It's amazing because those aha moments happen with industry visiting too. I mean, I've seen industry watching a student with some of the CAD software, and they'll come back and say, my goodness, that's what we're using in our office, and that's a great thing for industry to realize, that in the school setting, we can begin to really grow and foster those types of skills. And in many cases, we will get funding from industry partners because they get to see that what we're doing is relevant to their world and provides just a strong pathway for students toward careers, and it helps the community at large to thrive when all of that's working together. So funding for us is, it's really a mixed bag. It's grants, but a lot of it is community partnerships, because I'm quick to pick up the phone and call someone that's associated or interested in that particular class. And if we have a need, and invite them to lunch and let them go see the classroom and then tell them what the need is. And we often get our needs met that way. And but that also provides us with a strengthening of a relationship, between education and industry, which is vital.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Again, that community connection, Sherry. Cole, I'll toss it to you to wrap us up. Is there any other funding options that you've utilized?
Yes, I mean, when we first started our expansion program and put programs out in our partner high schools, we used the partnership grants through PLTW. And so we had a PLTW partner that was we were within the proper, district for them. And we were able to get a grant one every 5 years, so we could have that startup cost to buy all the equipment and the computers and things. And so that let us focus on being able to hire the teacher, and all those other things. But that was a very important part to us, building that foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And we'll share a little bit more about our PLTW grants that Cole referenced as well. But thank you so much, Cole, Dwayne, Sherry, for sharing your experiences with us today. I always am inspired by the work that you're doing with your students.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now that we've had some administrator insight onto school success and what it looks like with Project Lead the Way, we'd like to share with you some more details and teacher insight about Project Lead the Way engineering, computer science, and biomedical science. So just a reminder, you're going to be able to choose the pathway that you'd like to hear more about by selecting the specific breakout room. And don't worry, if you want to hear the details about more than one program, we'll be sending out this recording for each of the breakout rooms after the event for your reference. So shortly, you'll see that breakout room option pop up on your screen, and please select the breakout room that you'd like to attend. If you don't see it pop up, don't worry. Our moderator will do that magic in the background and make sure that you get to the right place.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mary Arrowsmith, and I'm the Director of School Success at Project Lead the Way. Thank you for being with us, and I'm so excited to share more about our biomedical science program. Project Lead the Way Biomedical Science is focused on real-world experiences that tie directly to the day-to-day challenges of biomedical science professionals. In every course, students will experience our unique problem-based approach and take on the role of professionals in the field. In these roles, students learn and apply the lab or clinical skills they need for success. They also adopt transportable skills such as collaboration, communication, and presentation that help them interact with their peers and communicate their findings. This helps drive their success outside the classroom, both in college and in their future careers. Differing from common science electives, Project Lead the Way Biomedical Sciences encourage students to integrate components of all their science curriculum to solve problems, which leads to a deeper understanding of core knowledge and skills, but also a higher appreciation for what they are learning inside their classroom in relationship to their future careers. Based on anecdotal evidence from our former Project Lead the Way biomedical science students, this is really the part of the curriculum that resonates with them and becomes a highlight of the entire experience. The program consists of 4 year-long courses, each with a comprehensive student curriculum as well as extensive teacher resources and training. The courses in our pathway are structured so that schools can implement them flexibly in the way that works best for them and their students. Additionally, distance learning assets have been developed for each course so schools can implement the curriculum face-to-face or online. Throughout this curriculum, students become skilled in the techniques that are in demand today. For example, in Principles of Biomedical Science, our first-year course, students explore various challenges like solving forensic and clinical mysteries, designing health promotions, and even controlling a medical outbreak through a series of emergency measures. To help you see this course curriculum and activities firsthand, we'll send you a walkthrough video as follow-up to this webinar. We encourage you to share this with others at your school to see how a course like this would work for your students. To give you a better sense of the Project Lead the Way curriculum right now, we'll take a few minutes to dive into one of our newest modules. Living in unique times during this pandemic has presented an opportunity to help students build their skills in biomedical science while helping them make meaning of the world around them, which is a focus in all PLTW curriculum. Each of our biomedical science courses has natural connections to the pandemic, and we wanted to leverage these connections to incorporate real-world timely content into BMS classrooms. Here's a short video to share more about this module.
The long-lasting effects of COVID-19 global health pandemic can be felt by millions of Americans across the United States. As we race to stop the viral spread, PLTW continues to stand with our network and is challenging students to think differently by releasing a brand new supplementary COVID-19 module that explores coronavirus through contact tracing, understanding how it spreads, and taking on the roles of real-world professionals to design new solutions for their communities, allowing students to make relevant connections to the real world. Because the students of today will become the scientists and engineers of tomorrow, discovering cures and solving tomorrow's challenges. We are excited to announce the COVID-19 module is available now through My PLTW for biomedical science teachers.
As you can see, the module brings together the sciences of infectious diseases, building student understanding of virology as they explore the structure and origins of the COVID-19 virus and how it spreads. The module also includes scenarios that will help students step into the shoes of scientists and professionals and apply their learning in understanding the virus and solving the issues of this pandemic. At the root of the student experience and success, of course, are teachers. To prepare educators to lead the learning and build their confidence in subject areas, we provide professional development. PLTW core training is designed to create dynamic learning experiences for educators through flexible instructional support, as well as ongoing access to a professional community. Teachers take on the role of a student, engage in in-depth exploration of PLTW coursework, and gain priceless experience to take back to their classrooms. PLTW's Professional Development Suite gives all pre-K through 12 educators additional instruction and skill-based trainings to continue building student success. A full list of the PLTW PD Suite offerings can be found on our website. An exciting new development set to launch for the 2024-2025 school year, PLTW Algebra 1 Advantage, is a new supplemental curriculum designed to revolutionize the teaching of Algebra 1. Its flexible nature allows teachers to effortlessly integrate these resources into their existing curriculum. The program focuses on enhancing student engagement in algebra through active participation and exploration. It achieves this by offering a variety of problems and projects that are not only relevant, but also aligned with educational standards, facilitating their incorporation into lesson plans. PLTW Algebra 1 Advantage adopts an interactive approach that links algebra to real-world scenarios, effectively answering the common question, when will I ever use this? This connection to practical applications serves to improve students' problem-solving skills. In response to the limitations of traditional teaching methods, this program also employs interactive and applied learning techniques to make this algebra more engaging and relevant. This is achieved by including a range of topics like financial literacy, societal and environmental impact, law and criminology, architecture/engineering, and more, therefore enriching the overall learning experience. We invite anyone to follow our progress with Algebra 1 Advantage by scanning the QR code here on the screen or going to www.pltw.org/A1A. Now that we have provided a big picture of the PLTW Biomedical Science program, we want you to hear directly from some of our students. Last year, we were able to interview students from some of our schools about their Project Lead the Way biomedical science experience. While watching the interviews, keep an eye out for the transportable skills that these students possess. We couldn't be more proud of them, and we hope you are as well.
Communication skills with my classmates, lab partners, and my teachers, really. Not only because it was a really cool lab, but because I've actually messed it up the first time I did it.
Yeah.
So I had to do research and alter my procedure, and then I re-performed it, and I got the exact results I wanted. So
Okay, how'd that make you feel?
huge sense of satisfaction that I caught it. First course I've taken PLTW, but it is challenging, and unlike any other, it actually requires critical thinking. And in other classes, you don't always have that. In that type of structured class, you couldn't have more like drive and determination and a work ethic for all my other 4 classes. So when, as we mentioned it in times, but the previous lab we did, I found it really fascinating with all the bones and seeing just how it could be with a forensic anthropologist and studying these bones. It honestly made me want to become a forensic anthropologist. It changed me a lot. I remember freshman year, I came in and I was like, because I'm always so afraid of being wrong. So it helped with my confidence a lot. And I feel like it helped with me working better with other people. I talk to people more. I remember freshman year, I'd be like, no, I'm doing this by myself. I think the benefits that come from student-led classes is that we take a sense of responsibility in our own work. So we kind of figure things out on our own. Mr. Fleming's always there to lead us, but we have timelines that we try to meet to the best of our abilities. And it's like, we're responsible for it. It improves our work ethic, our people skills. Basically all of the soft skills I have is because of PLTW classes.
Every time I hear from our students, it's a clear reminder why I do what I do. Thank you to these students for sharing their time with us last fall so that you can hear them today. And thank you so much, 𝐁𝐫𝐞𝐚𝐤𝐸, for being able to share your story. Tanya is a PLTW biomedical science teacher at New Prairie High School in Indiana. She was among one of the first 40 schools to launch the Project Lead the Way biomedical science program. She's a HOSA advisor, and she has done a lot of great work in her school. And we're going to watch an interview with Ms. 𝐁𝐫𝐞𝐚𝐤𝐸 right now.
And Tanya, you're a biomedical science teacher at New Prairie High School in Indiana. So let's chat a little bit about your experience as the Project Lead the Way teacher at New Prairie. And so welcome. How are you, Tanya?
I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, so give us a little bit of background on how you started Project Lead the Way at your school, and essentially what was your motivation for bringing in Project Lead the Way biomedical science to your school or district? So,
well, our situation might be a little bit unique because it's been so long since we started the biomedical science program. And it was actually when the biomed curriculum was first launched. And so we were approached because we had other PLTW, we had PLTW engineering already implemented at our school. And this, I think, was around 2007. And so we were approached to pilot this new program called Biomedical Sciences. And so there was 40 schools in the nation that were selected to do that. And 1 year of doing that, and we were hooked. And so we've been doing it ever since. And I think it's one of the best additions that we've had consistently at our school since that implementation time.
Wonderful. So tell me a little bit about the impact of Project Lead the Way biomedical science on your students.
Okay, what was previously said by the administrators as well is something that I hear over and over just routinely. The current students, it helps them in their biology or their chemistry or their anatomy class. They already feel they have that confidence, kind of a leg up on those more advanced classes with the foundations of biomed. And then also at the collegiate level, I routinely, especially with lab skills, I hear back from former students saying that, they really felt like rock stars in that, first lab at their college, because they already knew how to pipette, they already knew how to use a centrifuge, or they already were familiar with different skills, and content-wise, they're familiar with the popular ones I hear from are heart parts or feedback loops, things like that. They already know that where their classmates are struggling at that. So that's consistently every September, October, I hear back from those college freshmen, former students, just praising, thanking me and Project Lead the Way for the level of rigor that it has prepared them, and the specific content too, but I think it's mostly the level of rigor that's involved.
That is excellent. And thinking about that, share with me a little bit more about what it's like teaching a Project Lead the Way classroom. You mentioned the level of rigor, but how has it impacted your career specifically?
Yeah, so I have not always been a teacher. I was in healthcare for about 10 years before I transitioned to teaching, and I taught 1 year of biology before we were approached to pilot this, and it was a natural fit to select me as the teacher because of my background. And I don't know that I would be teaching still if it wasn't for Project Lead the Way. I only teach Project Lead the Way classes. It's a natural fit for me. I love the progression of the introduction of a concept, the building on that, to more of a problem and solving a problem. And then I love how the different classes build on each other throughout the 4 years. But what I also enjoy is the flexibility that is there too. And I can modify things for what works with me in my class. I can add things, I can take away things, I can supplement with things. It just is an active environment for kids. It's bell to bell. There's never any boredom. And so it just really, I think it just elevates the education experience, and I feel it creates sort of like a biomed family. So kids stay together through their PBS, HBS, MI, BI, a lot of them stay together. So you create this like community of kids with common interests, and then that class experience that they've had.
That's amazing. And I think about curriculum revisions and things like that. I know it's challenging to meet, the needs of your students, but, how do you find that experience with curriculum revisions and upgrades? And, how do you find the support from Project Lead the Way in navigating challenges and obstacles?
Yeah, and that is challenging. I've been through a couple of revisions now, and, the summer trainings are extremely helpful. I've been the in-person trainings. I've been a master teacher. I've done online trainings just most recently for the HBS revision. And that is extremely helpful for sure. But then you have the ongoing support of the network, and especially just the other PLTW teachers. I would say weekly I'm reaching out to that network, asking questions or for resources for clarification. It keeps me on my toes too. Like I feel like I'm a life learner type person. And so, with the new HBS curriculum, I'm learning all that again. Does it come with stress? Absolutely, it does. But it also comes with a huge sense of accomplishment. And, PLTW has always been very receptive on any like suggestions on changes or problems encountered or things that aren't working. And I know just from my probably largest source of questions usually come from labs, and the connection with 𝐓𝐢𝐬𝐻 is great. Jeff at 𝐓𝐢𝐬𝐻 is just always extremely helpful in providing the necessary support for that.
That's wonderful to feel supported and be able to implement high quality programming for your students. Share a little bit about how you implement your program, what's your implementation look like, and what advice would you give to schools as far as building the case to keep the program going and growing it?
Yeah, well, I think that you have to make sure you celebrate the success and the opportunities of the program. Like that's the teacher's responsibility usually to do that. Unless you have a marketing team or something, we do not. And so that's up to me to share those experiences and not keep it the best kept secret in the school. We just did a field trip yesterday with our BI program to Indiana's Medical History Museum. And that was an amazing experience for the kids too. I need to celebrate that. I need to share that with the staff, share that with the administration, and share that on our social media. And that's where we get a lot of the comments is, my kid wants to be a part of that. And so we also then, we do take time to go to our middle school and share what PBS is like. We have like a high school review day for our 8th graders, and give them some hands-on, usually, some kind of dissection or something is always good. But now they have the Gateway program available at our middle school. So they already have a little taste of what biomed is going to be like before they come over to the high school. So that's new for us. We just haven't had Gateway for 2 years now. But I would say that like really celebrating and advertising your program, and it does take efforts. I just did Stop the Bleed certifications in all of my classes, and I recently just sent all the pictures to the principal. It'll go up on social media, and those younger kids will, or their parents will see that and be like, that's a really interesting class. There's always something going on in biomed. There's always something going on in biomed. And so, that I think speaks volumes.
That is wonderful. So thanks so much to you, Tanya Arts, for taking the time to share your experience.
Thanks once again to Tanya Arts for sharing her experience as a Project Lead the Way biomedical science teacher. One of the best ways to find out about a Project Lead the Way classroom is to actually visit a Project Lead the Way classroom to see the students and teachers in action. Since we aren't able to physically take you to a classroom, we wanted to provide you with the next best thing, a 3-minute peek of what your classroom can be. All right, if you want to find the schools in your area that are implementing Project Lead the Way for their students' greater engagement and success, please use the school locator on our website, and we're adding that link to the chat. The level of energy in our classrooms is remarkable. Earlier, we heard from our panelists and Tanya about how Project Lead the Way has transformed the learning and teaching in their schools. But the first step in that transformation process is in creating a strategic plan, one that meets their school's vision and goals to expand opportunities for all students. And part of that plan is having a clear view of the required investments and identifying all the funding sources available to you. Project Lead the Way programs vary in cost, but each program includes investments in these 3 categories: participation fees, professional development, and equipment and supplies. The participation fee is an annual fee that covers all of the curriculum access and software rights for your PLTW programs. To be able to teach one of our courses, a teacher must be trained by PLTW in our core training experience. This is an online training led by some of the best PLTW teachers in the country. Last, our curriculum is project-based and very hands-on, so there are some equipment and supplies that you'll need for your implementation. So now that we know more about the investments needed, let's talk about some of the funding opportunities that will help you grow your programs. Each year, we have a wide variety of Project Lead the Way grants available for all the different programs in our pathways. We have grants available for brand new programs as well as program expansion. These PLTW grants are made possible by our partnerships with leading organizations across the country. Over the last 10 years, with the support from these generous partners, PLTW has distributed over $75 million in school grants to be able to fund more than 6,600 pre-K through 12 schools. And this year, we have more grants available to schools than ever before. If you're looking to make a bigger impact in your district with PLTW, you can add new programs. New program grants with PLTW will cover the teacher training costs as well as the program participation fees. And we have other grants that also cover equipment and supplies. Please check out our grant opportunity webpage to find out more and schedule a meeting with your local PLTW team member. We are ready and willing to find out more about your district vision and help you with your grant applications. Through these grants, PLTW will partner with your school and district to help you throughout your PLTW implementation journey. Applying for a PLTW grant is easy through our simple application process located in your My PLTW account. If you don't already have one, you can create this account quickly and easily on our website. We award grants on a rolling basis from June 1st to July 30th, so schools may submit one application per program per school annually, and PLTW keeps that application on file until June 30th of each year. This is so we can consider schools for more than one grant opportunity throughout the funding cycle. Our PLTW grant opportunities are amazing, especially this year, and we encourage everyone to apply. Noting the specific call out to evidence-based curriculum, I want to be sure you know about our evidence papers, one for each grade band, which enables you to dive deeper into the structure of our evidence-based curriculum. You can learn about our unique problem-based PBL approach and review the research supporting the positive impact PLTW has on student achievement. You can download these resources from our website. Besides PLTW grants, there are several funding opportunities for you to utilize. To help you break it down and compare, we've created a funding side-by-side resource also available on our website. This will help you see what federal funds are available and which ones can be used for which of our 3 investment areas. You're probably also wondering, where do I start? We want to help you with that too. We recommend that you connect with a Project Lead the Way team member to discuss any questions that you have. Visit pltw.org. On our PLTW biomedical science pages, you can use the range of resources like our course outline, the course resume, and standards connections to help you plan your implementation. You can read blog stories and how other schools have unlocked student potential with Project Lead the Way. And to access additional funding resources, go to our funding and grant opportunities page, and also be sure to apply for grant funding at mypltw.org. This concludes the content of our webinar today, but Tanya and I would like to thank you for your participation. Please add your questions in the chat so we can make sure and see everyone's. Within a week, you'll receive an email with the recording of this webinar and additional resources to help you answer the questions that you might have. If you'd like to connect one-to-one with a PLTW team member to develop your implementation plan, feel free to contact the PLTW Solutions Center, available 24/7 at 877-335-7589 or solutioncenter@pltw.org. This information will also be included in your follow-up email. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you for your time.
All right. Good afternoon/evening to all of my fellow CS folks. So I am going to go ahead and kick us off here with our breakout room for computer science. I'll go ahead and start sharing screen so you can see the presentation there. Okay, awesome. And if everyone could give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen, just so I make sure that, thank you, April, got it. All right. Oh, we're going fancy with the reactions. Love it. Awesome. All right. Well, good afternoon/evening, depending on where you're tuning in from. My name's Miriam Noor. I'm one of the directors of school success here with Project Lead the Way. I just want to thank you all so much for being with us, and really excited for April and I to share more about our computer science program. I'd also like to know, just we'll do a round of thumbs up here too. How many of you already have CS or are teaching CS at your school building or site? Okay. Cool. So it looks like we're all going to learn about it. Awesome. Love it. All right. So a little bit about computer science. We know that our students of today are really consumers of the information age, right? They're around technology all the time. Our goal with PLTW's computer science program is to elevate our students from being consumers of the technology around them to actually being creators of it, right? And ethical creators of it and competent creators of it. So this program is a 4-year-long hands-on courses that are engaging our students in really compelling real-world challenges as they work together to design solutions. So they apply various concepts of computational thinking. It's not just about learning how to code. I know learning how to code has been a big push of late, but it's really about helping them become better problem solvers and communicators throughout that. And so when we look at our PLTW computer science pathway, it's students of all experience levels. They're basically learning and applying concepts like modularity, variables, control structures, and they work in programming, they work in algorithm design, including block-based programming, they do text-based programming. So they're basically applying these computational thinking practices, building their vocabulary within that, and then they're collaborating with one another, which is a huge piece of this, just as computation professionals would do, right? So they're working on mastering app development, visualization of data, cybersecurity, and simulation. And we know a lot of universities and colleges are wanting students to be better at this, particularly with visualization of data, being able to collaborate. So we're really excited that we do that with this pathway. The courses also, which is really important, they raise students' knowledge of and commitment to ethical computing. So it's integral to computation, but also integral to many other disciplines and everyday scenarios that they might come across, right, in high school and beyond. And I just want to quote one of our PLTW alums here. He interned at Oak Ridge National Laboratory at the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. And as he put it, he said, programming is so important in every engineering discipline today. Having a strong computational background provided me the basis I needed to excel in the computational research world of nuclear engineering. Without PLTW, I would not be where I am today. And I love that he connected that back to engineering and how computation was so important. Now, I know that Andrea mentioned a little bit about our professional development, and we heard it in the bigger panel, but I just wanted to specify it here. At the root of the student experience and success, we know our teachers, it's our educators, and our amazing teachers have proven time and time again, you don't need to already come in as a computer science expert to be an amazing computer science teacher. So the goal here is to prepare our educators to lead the learning, to build their confidence in the field of computer science. And in order to do that, we actually provide professional development specifically for these courses. So we have our core training, which is designed to create these dynamic learning experiences for educators. The real opportunity here is that it's flexible instructional support and you have an ongoing professional community. So it's about the pedagogy, but it's also about who you learn with and having access to them. So it's much more than this whole sort of here's the documents, here's the curriculum in a box. It really provides that communal experience. So in our professional development, teachers would take on the role of a student. So you'd basically be engaging in the in-depth exploration of our PLTW coursework, and you gain that experience so you can take it back to your classrooms. And I'll post in the chat our development suite web link so that when you click on it, you'd be able to go in and check out our different professional development offerings, particularly when it comes to computer science. So I'll put that into the chat in just a moment. Before that, I also wanted to highlight one piece that we're launching in 2024-2025, so next school year. You might have already heard about this, but we have something called Algebra 1 Advantage. Now, this is great because it's designed to be a supplemental curriculum to Algebra 1. So we're in STEM already. We want to highlight that M portion. This is basically going to be a flexible curriculum, and it allows teachers to use whatever Algebra 1 curriculum they have, but basically to supplement it with this interactive approach and exploration. So the goal here is offering relevant problems and projects that pertain to algebra so that students can get beyond that this is the math that I need to do, and understand how that math, particularly with algebraic concepts, translates into and can be seen in their everyday lives. So we're really, really excited about that. If you have questions about this, feel free to put it into the chat. You can scan this QR code that you see on the screen right here, or you can go to that web link that's underneath, and that's our whole page that's going to be updated as we continue to roll out Algebra 1 Advantage. But that's one thing that I really wanted to highlight. Really excited about it, really excited about the topics that we're connecting it to here. So I invite you to learn more about that if that's of interest to you. Okay, so now that I've provided hopefully just a big picture of our PLTW computer science program, we want you to hear directly from our students about it. So last year we were able to interview students from Bartsville High School in Oklahoma about their experience within the computer science program. So while watching the interviews, I just want you to keep an eye out for those transportable skills that students are talking about. Really, really proud of our students here. So very excited for you to hear from them because the student voice is just so powerful. So I'm going to go ahead and reshare my screen here. And bear with me as I learn the ropes. I'm actually going to stop share and reshare. And we'll share my sound as well.
Look through all the files that there is and make sure that all the malware has been removed, and then just making sure that you prevent any other malware from being downloaded. But I think that's probably been my favorite so far.
My favorite project was probably the most challenging for me was the prisoner's dilemma in computer science principles, where we kind of got to learn how Python programs can interact with each other and kind of communicate. So that was cool.
I like PLTW because it grants you a lot more freedom. Like, you can solve a problem in your own way rather than just having to follow the curriculum.
I also took the engineering PLTW courses, and in both the computer science and engineering, you definitely get a sense of just real world application of like what you learn in school. So math, English, just like anything that you can apply that you've already learned, you get to do in PLTW program.
This is stuff that relates to what's going on in industry today. So therefore, you can kind of have a way to really visualize and see how we can take what we learn and input it in things that are relevant in industry today.
With PLTW, you're able to make mistakes and fix it your own way instead of having a set way of getting to one point.
You're really able to use everything that you've learned and then just put everything into that, and then with everything relating to each other. Since so much like modern technology is based off of just coding and then just knowing a whole bunch of more stuff about computers than like most people do. I think it's really cool.
It's super simple. Just I don't have all the answers, but I have some that other people might not have. So as these two said, you know, being able to come together to solve one big problem with, you know, one circular solution. And then also when you start beginning working in groups, you notice there's a lot of clashing, as you said, and difficulties, and some people might be too stubborn. But over time, you actually learn how to work in groups better. So once you get into CSA and second semester CSP, things are a lot more efficient.
The quality of work that you're able to do in PLTW increases as you can work in groups, and yeah, getting to work with people that you're not very comfortable working with is a great experience for the real world and in your job. So we're all going to work with people that we don't like and like. So
what I like about working in groups is that, like, it's nice to have another set of eyes. Like, you may be stuck on a problem and just like you can't get past it, but if you have someone's different perspective on it, it might have a simple solution that you're just overlooking. So it really helps you work through problems.
Yeah, I want to get my degree in mechanical engineering and probably in the long run go into like project management and stuff like that.
I'm planning on becoming an engineer. I'm not entirely sure of what type, but just engineering in general, probably. Right now I'm debating between computer science and mechanical engineering, but for sure something research-based, where we're trying to find solutions to things.
Nice. Since we're such an intimate group here, I did want to know, is there anything that stood out to you when you saw when you heard the student sharing? Anything in particular where you're like, huh, like that? And you can put it in the chat too, feel free.
Hi, my name is Kirsten. Thank you for this presentation. I appreciate it. I really loved the group work and kind of getting people into like those real life scenarios that they'll be in for their future career.
Love that. Thanks, Kirsten. And I see got some chat boxes. Brandy, real life applicability, yeah, and Ruth, their confidence in what they say. Yeah, so confident and so eloquent in their speaking as well. Love that. Thanks all for sharing. Part of me is like, we're such an intimate group that I want to hear from everyone. All right, awesome. So those are some student interviews, but of course we know that what makes these programs really successful are having our strong educators, our teachers. So I'm so excited that with me, we have April Sherman. Thank you so much, April, for being here with us today. April Sherman was named PLTW's National Computer Science Teacher of the Year. She is joining us from Normal West High School in Illinois. So she has a wealth of experience. She's been in this game. She's been doing PLTW, and I'm so excited to have her join us today. So thank you so much, April, for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right, so we're just going to do this Q&A style. So I'm going to ask her questions. If you'd like to hear more about her from something in particular, please feel free to put it into the chat. But I'll just go ahead and jump in with asking you some questions, April. So my first one for you is, what was the initial motivation for bringing PLTW computer science to your school, to your district? What problem were you trying to solve for with that?
So when I became our math department chair in 2014, we had computer science courses in our course description book. However, no students were really signing up to take them. No teachers were teaching them. And I, at that time, made it my sole mission to really grow computer science at our high school. So back in 2014, we had a few courses that were offered. One was like Intro to Computer Science. We taught C++, and then we added the AP Computer Science A, which was the Java course. Well, a few years later, now that we had some computer science classes going, our engineering teacher found me at school and said to me, hey, we teach Project Lead the Way engineering courses. Well, there's this class called Computer Science Principles that falls under the engineering umbrella, and there wouldn't be an additional cost to our school district to add this course. It would just be the cost to get me trained to teach it. Would I be interested in taking a look at it? And so I looked into it, fell in love with the idea, went through the core training, started teaching it, and fell in love with it even more. So my little taste of PLTW computer science got me interested in what all PLTW had to offer. So then I went to our director of secondary education. I showed them where we had some grant opportunities to start up a full computer science program, and the rest is history. So we now offer all 4 computer science courses in both high schools in our district.
That's awesome. I love that. So that's an incredible start. I wanted to ask you, what have you noticed the impact to be on PLTW's computer science students?
Yeah, I think the video kind of helped explain from a student's perspective, but my students personally, I feel like more of them are pursuing computer science as a college major and or future career after taking some of the PLTW CS courses. I've heard back from so many of my former students how they're doing, and then how taking computer science PLTW courses in high school helped prepare them for their future. Just last week, I got an email from a student who was updating me on his life and where he was at with software development, and he was one of my PLTW computer science students. So I'm just really happy to be a part of their life journey and sort of igniting that spark in high school through Project Lead the Way's computer science curriculum.
I love that. Thanks for sharing. And I know since you Teacher of the Year award and you've been teaching for some time, what's it like teaching a PLTW classroom? What's the feeling there? What's the energy when someone walks in, and how's that impacted you personally within your teaching career?
So I started off as just a math teacher, and then I added physics for like 7 years. And then, like I mentioned, about 9 years ago, added computer science. And then a few years after that, added PLTW computer science. So I've kind of been teaching in different disciplines, but I will definitely say that teaching PLTW curriculum, the APB approach, where activities build the skills, projects extend the knowledge and help them dig a little deeper into some concepts, and then they have a real world problem to solve. That has been transformational. In fact, it's affected me as a math teacher. Tried to figure out ways to create projects and problems for my math students to be able to solve as they apply the skills they learn in those daily activities. And so it's just really made me think of how I can do things differently in other disciplines. I just absolutely love how the curriculum is laid out, how it's real world based, like the students in those interviews. They just talked about the connection and the relevance. I think that's really important. Because I also teach math, I am very eager to learn more about Algebra 1 Advantage. And I'm hoping that PLTW comes up with something for geometry and Algebra 2, because I definitely think the M part of STEM needs a little, I don't know, just a little tender care, because sometimes math just gets seen as this standalone class. And so I'm very excited to see what PLTW has to offer. But I just love watching my computer science students as they work on their problems that they're solving, the creativity that comes out in how they solve the problems. Every student thinks differently and every student is different, unlike in a math class where like all the answers are the same. In computer science, just the level of creativity is one of the things I love.
I love that, April. And I can sense that too, of just the energy in the room with students not having to find one particular answer and being pushed and encouraged to be creative in their solutions and driven by that desire. That is awesome. So I know, and we heard from our panelists that there are a plethora of ways to implement PLTW programs, right? Can you share a bit about how you all as a school, because you said it's in both high schools now, all 4 courses, but how did you implement the programs from the starting point to where it's at now? And what advice would you give to schools that are looking to start the program and then continue to grow it?
Sure thing. Our school district started small. We just started with Computer Science Principles, or CSP for short, and both high schools ran that. And then once we kind of fell in love with the curriculum and the PLTW style of teaching the content to the students, we then added CSA. That's the Java course. And we offer them as AP courses as well. So not only are they getting the Project Lead the Way curriculum, they could potentially earn college credit. So we started with CSP, then we added CSA, and then from there, it just made sense to naturally add cybersecurity and CSE, or Computer Science Essentials. So where we're at right now, both high schools offer 4 courses, and there's not necessarily a particular pathway that a student needs to follow. But if we were to recommend a 4-year pathway, typically we encourage students to start with Computer Science Essentials, and then take Computer Science Principles, and then Computer Science A, and then finally their senior year, cybersecurity. But if students can't fit that into their schedule, some of them opt not to take CSE and they go into CSP, then CSA, and then if they have an opportunity to take cybersecurity, they can. It's not necessarily that the classes build on each other, because 2 of the classes have a different coding language. One is mainly Python and the other is Java. So it's not like they build like Algebra 1 to Algebra 2. They could be taken as standalone classes as well.
Thanks, April. And I know you're talking about Java and Python, and we recently released that Java certification that students are able to get along with that. Has that, or do you hope for that to be a point that your students will really want to lean into as another evidence of their tangible skill set that they're gaining from these courses?
Absolutely. As soon as I received the email about that Java certification, I read the email to my students and they were very interested in that. So we will be pursuing that after the computer science A exam in the spring, and then we'll have students kind of look into that. So I know they're very excited to earn another certification.
April, thank you so much. I'm so in awe of you and inspired by the work that you've been doing with your students and just the passion and care. So I'm so thrilled you're able to speak with us today. If you all have questions for April as well, please feel free to pop it into the chat. Would be happy to respond to that. But I love speaking with people who are doing it and doing the thing and enjoying it and loving it. It's great. And thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So she talked a little bit about what the classroom would feel like. And because we are virtual, we're doing the next best thing, which I'll share with you a video that walks you through a classroom visit of one of our computer science classrooms. So it's going to be about a 3-minute peek at what a classroom would look like, what your classroom would look like with computer science there. So let me go ahead and stop sharing this and reshare it with our classroom visit. All right, go ahead and reshare. So that was just a sneak peek at what a classroom looks like or feels like when it comes to computer science. And I got the chance to visit a classroom in Northern California 2 weeks ago and had the students share with me. It was like an app battle. So different groups were creating their own apps to solve a problem that was relevant to them, and then had to present it to the class and have classmates try it out. So that was super cool. So there's really nothing like being able to just see the kids in action. So we heard from our panelists talking about how they fund their programs, and you got to see a bit of a different pathway depending on whether it was a CTE focus or a smaller community with industry partners. So I just wanted to share a little bit about our PLTW investment categories that you see here. We basically have these three different buckets. So the programs vary in cost depending on computer science, engineering, biomedical sciences, but these are the same three categories regardless. So we have our participation fee, our professional development, and then the equipment and supplies. So the participation fee is just an annual fee. So it's just once a year, and that covers all of the curriculum access and all of the software rights for the PLTW programs. And you're able to basically add on as many students as you need with that annual participation fee. In order to teach one of the courses, of course, you have to have a teacher who's trained, who's done the core training experience in that particular course. This is an online training that's led by our master teachers. So these are basically PLTW teachers across the country, such as April, who are really masterful and experienced at teaching it. And lastly, because the curriculum, and with computer science in particular, a lot of it's software-based, right? But our curriculum is project-based. So it's going to be very hands-on. It's going to have durables and consumables. So there are some equipment and supplies that are necessary for implementation, depending on the courses that you have within the pathway. So that's the investment in terms of what you put in. I wanted to share some opportunities that we offer through PLTW for funding. So every year, fall and spring, we have our PLTW grants. Now, these are grants that are basically made possible through our industry partners across the country. So you can see just some of the names that we have here on this slide. This is over the past 10 years, really, with the support of these partners, we've distributed over 75 million in school grants, and that's more than 6,600 pre-K through 12 schools. So it's been really great to have these industry partners. Why do they care? Because they really like what we're doing in terms of the skills that students are learning, and they want to see it in more classrooms across the country. So they really do fund, and it's really helpful for our schools in terms of getting those programs started and sustained. So if you're looking to make a bigger impact in your district with PLTW by adding our new programs, we do have PLTW grants that will cover the cost of teacher training as well as the participation fees. And this is going to be a 3-year grant. When you look at our industry partner grants, it's often a lump sum amount that you're then able to utilize within any of those 3 buckets. You can utilize it for the participation fee, any equipment and supplies, and to train your teachers. So I'll also post a link at the end, and don't worry, I've remembered all the links I should be sharing in the chat. You will also get this presentation with all of the links embedded. So don't worry about trying to copy and paste it over anywhere. You'll get this afterwards too, and you'll be able to peruse at your leisure. So the last slide I showed you was about our industry partner grants. I spoke a little bit about the PLTW grants. This is through us, and those are those 3-year grants that are going to give you core training vouchers. So you'll get 4 vouchers to teach 4 teachers in computer science in this case, as well as that participation fee for the first 2 years. And that gives time and a longer runway to build that budget into your school or your school buildings budget, and to strategize on the long-term vision and sustainability of the program. So how you would apply for these grants, that's going to be through a My PLTW account. It's really easy to go in and set up your account. Once you create the account, you're able to submit a grant application. Our grant applications, it's a standard application, no matter what grant you're applying to, takes between maybe 30 minutes to an hour. So really not as arduous of a process when it comes to grants. And so basically, once you apply to a grant, we keep it on file until June 30th of that year. And even if you apply for a grant and there's no grants you're eligible for at the time, your grant application will still be held. And if any grants come up throughout the year for which you're eligible for, you'll automatically be considered in that pool. So that's why it's really great to submit a grant application. So it's a really great opportunity. Hope that you'll take advantage of it if that's something that you're looking for when it comes to getting school buy-in or district buy-in. Just wanted to call out here also evidence-based curriculum. We have evidence papers that are available on our website. They're available for you to download, and it basically walks you through our unique PBL approach. So it's project-based learning, but basically project-based learning upping the ante when it comes to PLTW and what we do. So this walks you through it as well as the impact that that has. So that's available to download through our website. And then when it comes to funding, besides the PLTW grants, you heard a little bit about Perkins and CTIG and other sorts of funding opportunities that are available at perhaps the statewide or even federal level. So what we've done as well is we've taken a funding side by side and created this resource where we basically go through federal funds that are available and what buckets of our investment categories you might be able to utilize them for. So this is really great for site or school principals as they're looking at their budgets, depending on how budgets work within your district or your state. This is a great resource for the federal level. So I'll also put that, it's just going to be like a PDF. I'll put that into the chat as well. So what would be the next steps here if you're interested? Easy as 1, 2, 3, connect with a PLTW team member. If you don't have any PLTW programs in your district, you'd be speaking to someone who works with new districts in particular. If you already have programs in your district, but not at your school, you'd speak to someone who's your school success representative. I work with schools in Central and Northern California, for example. So we have school success representatives for every single state, every single region. You go to pltw.org, that has so many resources about our program. You could click on it, find computer science, course resumes, outlines, side-by-sides with NGSS standards, all of that, really, really helpful. And you can apply for grant funding through a mypltw.org account. So those are our next steps for you all. And then mine for you is just thank you for joining us. I know being on webinars can feel kind of funky when we're a few years out from COVID and you're like, wait a second, these things still exist. So very, very happy to have you all on here today. April and I are here to answer any of your questions you have. Please feel free to put it in the chat or frankly, just unmute because we're a nice, small, intimate group and would be happy to hear your voice and see you. For those of you that won't be staying on, thanks again for your time. I think we're actually ending right on time, so which I love. I love it being a judicious use of folks' time. So within about a week, you'll receive an email with the recording of the webinar and all of these links, as I said, that I mentioned that I'm putting in the chat. You'll also get it in the email follow-up if you can't stay on while I'm popping those in. If you want to connect one-on-one with a PLTW team member, there will be a follow-up about that. If you're looking to develop an implementation plan, you can also feel free to contact our Solutions Center, and I'll put their information into the chat right now. But this will all be in the follow-up email. Besides that, just have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining. And again, we'll be on here for a bit if you want to ask any questions. So thank you so much.
Welcome. I'm excited to be here. This is the engineering room, just in case anyone clicked on the wrong thing and wants to go to a different breakout space. But I'm Miranda Zank, and I am the Director of School Success here at Project Lead the Way. So thank you again so much for joining us. I'm excited about the engineering pathway and about our guest speaker, Tracy Swede, led with us today. As you can see, as you can see, PLTW engineering creates a much more dynamic and energized experience than your typical high school classroom. So you might be thinking, well, what makes PLTW engineering curriculum so different? The PLTW engineering is focused on real-world experiences that reflect those of engineering professionals. This helps students adopt a problem-solving mindset and make the leap from dreamers to doers. In every course, students will experience our unique problem-based approach and use software and tools that they'd be using in the real-world workplace after graduation. PLTW has been providing ever-evolving, industry-relevant engineering curriculum to thousands of schools for over 25 years. Countless students who learn by designing a glider, programming an autonomous space rover, exploring algae as a biofuel source, or even designing safe, clean water systems for communities now work in the field of their choice or are gaining opportunities in higher education. With connections made through their PLTW experience, students have earned internships, jobs, in major international organizations.
My favorite is the NASA Hunch project that we're.
So, with all of this being said, I can't get all my screens to work properly. One thing that I often talk about with our schools is, where do you start? So we have a very large program with over 10 courses. And so to give you a better sense of the engineering curriculum itself, I'm going to talk a little bit about our first course, which is the Project Lead the Way Engineering Essentials, as an example. It's designed as a first exposure experience to inspire students of all backgrounds to explore the breadth of engineering-related career opportunities. Each unit introduced students to a variety of careers by providing diverse examples of engineering professionals engaged in addressing engineering challenges, from increasing global equity through international relief efforts and discovering alternative energy solutions to planning sustainable cities and inventing new technologies to improve people's health. So while Engineering Essentials is just that first kind of like exposure to any background, there are 10 different courses in our engineering pathway, allowing you to implement the program in the way that makes the most sense for your school and your teachers, and most importantly, your students. A PLTW team member will work with you through the implementation process to determine what course makes sense for you and build a plan to bring them to your school. To help you better understand those course offerings, we'll send you a course brochure as a follow-up to this webinar, and we encourage you to share it with your colleagues. I know during the bigger session, when you were hearing from the administrators, they talked a lot about the professional development and the training and the consistency that goes behind that. So at the root of the student experience and success, of course, are actually the teachers. To prepare educators to lead the learning and build their confidence in subject areas, we provide professional development. Our professional development, as we call it, is the PLTW core training, and it's designed to create dynamic learning experiences for educators through powerful and flexible instructional support, as well as an ongoing professional community. Teachers take on the role of students. They engage in in-depth exploration of the PLTW coursework and gain priceless experience to take back to their classrooms. PLTW, they have a professional development suite that gives all pre-K through 12th grade educators additional instructional and skill-based trainings to continue building student success. A full list of that PD suite offerings can be found on our website. Additionally, to set launch for next school year, so 2024 through the 2025 school year, PLTW has embarked on a brand new challenge, which is the Algebra 1 Advantage. And it's a new supplemental curriculum designed to revolutionize the teaching of Algebra 1. It's flexible. Nature allows teachers to effortlessly integrate these resources into their existing curriculum. The program focuses on enhancing student engagement in algebra through active participation and exploration. It achieves this by offering a variety of problems and projects that are not only relevant, but also aligned with educational standards, facilitating them and incorporating them right into their actual lesson plans. PLTW's Algebra 1 Advantage adopts an interactive approach that links algebra to real-world scenarios, effectively answering the very common question I personally received as an Algebra 1 teacher, which was, when will I ever use this? This connection to practical applications serves to improve students' problem-solving skills. In response to the limitations of traditional teaching methods, the program also employs interactive and applied learning techniques to make algebra more engaging and relevant. This is achieved by including a range of topics like financial literacy, societal and environmental impacts, law and criminology, architecture and engineering, and more, thereby enhancing the overall learning experience to their Algebra 1 course. We invite everyone to follow our progress with Algebra 1 as it's continuing to build and evolve for next year by scanning the QR code on the screen, or going right to our website at pltw.org/A1A. Now that we've provided a big picture of the PLTW engineering program and some of the additional components that we've talked about today, we want to hear directly from our students. Last year, we were able to interview students about their PLTW engineering experience. So while watching the interviews, keep an eye out for them. Keep an eye out for their transportable skills that these students possess. We couldn't be more proud of them and hope you are as well.
My favorite is the NASA Hunch project that we are currently working on for our senior capstone course, which we are designing a magnetic boot that can be used to walk around Starship in space.
I would have to say the project would be building rockets in aerospace with Mr. James, because we couldn't fly them if they weren't safe, so we had to constantly check and make sure that all the specifications were met, and just trial and error to make sure that we weren't going to hurt anyone.
I love working in groups, and it's the best part is that I get to put my ideas out there and have other people's ideas on the table, and so if my idea isn't always great, we can go with theirs, or I can check things off of them. I think that working in groups is the best way to get things done.
I like the fact that the teachers here care about what they're doing, and they're passionate about what they teach, and they treat us like adults to get us ready for college and how the real world is.
Probably aerospace, just because it's the most hands-on out of all the PLTW courses. I really liked building things and seeing how they worked out and testing them, and then going back and fixing everything that went wrong. And that one was the most like that. I really enjoyed that class.
I mean, you have to be somewhat of a people person and not shut down other people for their ideas.
As of right now, I have been admitted to OSU, and so I'm going to go there and I will major in aerospace engineering.
Well, I plan on attending OSU and majoring in mechanical and aerospace engineering, and after that I'd like to work for a race team.
Yes, actually that has. It's helped me realize what I enjoy doing, what I don't enjoy doing, what I'd like to do in the future, and then what aspects of everything kind of go together in a way. But yeah, I think they've definitely helped a lot. So.
Awesome. Every time I hear from those students, it's a clear reminder about why I do what I do. And thank you to those students for sharing their time with us last year so we can hear from them today. Okay, so I feel like I'm getting to the best part of this conversation today. I had the amazing opportunity to talk to Tracy yesterday, and I wanted to thank him yesterday for his time and also today for his time and sharing his stories with us. He was the National PLTW Engineering Teacher of the Year at Medford Area Senior High School in Wisconsin. So welcome back. Excited to share some of these stories again with you today. Tracy, we're going to start off with the question that is probably the biggest one, which is, what was the initial motivation for bringing PLTW engineering to your school or district? And what problems were you trying to solve in that?
Thank you. First of all, for having me. This is a great experience. This is going to be awesome to talk with you and hopefully be able to answer some of your questions. So back in what happened was my district administrator or my superintendent back in 2006 had just previously been a principal at a school in northern Wisconsin that had Project Lead the Way. And before coming to our district and him being the principal at this school, he was all into this PLTW. He came to three of us and asked us, hey, do you know anything about Project Lead the Way? And to be honest, we'd never even heard of Project Lead the Way. So he said, hey, I'm going to send you all to different schools in northern Wisconsin and around, and just have you go visit and see what you like about the curriculum. So we went and visited schools and actually got to see it in real time with the teachers that were teaching it and with the students. And we came back and said, yeah, this is definitely something we need to really investigate and look at. And what we were solving for, what my administrator was like, he saw this huge need of some type of engineering to go on in our school. You know, we had our typical STEM classes that at the time we thought were STEM, which are still STEM, of course, your physics, your biology or chemistry kind of classes, your tech ed, but we just didn't have that engineering type of course. And the rest is history, where we now have 5 courses, and I think we do a very good job with what we have. And by the way, I'm a very, you're going to hear me talk about this, I'm a very rural school. So I'm a school that's in northern Wisconsin, that we have about 640 kids in our high school, but we only have 17,000 in our county. And half of our county is national forest. So just to give you a little bit of where we're at in this world.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate the kind of the background as well, like where you're at, what is the location. I do think that's vitally important to Project Lead the Way, and as an administrator or teacher considering adopting an engineering program, that whether you're in abundance of resources or in an area that doesn't have as many opportunities, it's so impactful and important to expand that to students and let them know what is out there. So Tracy, my second question for you is going to be, what has been the impact of PLTW engineering on your students?
Well, before having PLTW engineering at our high school, we would have very few students pursue any post-secondary engineering degrees, whether it was tech school or a 4-year degree. But because of PLTW now, we routinely are having students go to those tech schools or to a 4-year institution and get a engineering degree. And the really cool part about this is, prior to it, I don't think our students really understood what engineering was and what it was all about, because we just didn't offer anything that was in that engineering pathway. Now that we do this, they go off to school. Like, we have one of the really top schools in the nation called 𝐬𝐻-STOUT. It's a polytech school, but it's really known for its plastics and for marketing and packaging items. So our students we have several that go to University of Wisconsin-Stout, and they come back, or as they're even there or doing their internships, or as they graduate, they come back, and then they're one of our best sellers in our program. They talk about, hey, everything that we do in our program has really helped me pursue my degree at 𝐬𝐻-STOUT as an engineering degree. So
that is really cool. And I mean, honestly, our end game, I even get that kind of thing all the time. I have an uncle who's an engineer, and he'll be like, what do you do at Project Lead the Way? And I name a couple of our tools or resources or things that we utilize in the curriculum. He's like, oh, wow, we do that. Like, I just used that same software today. So that's cool. Tracy, this is probably going to be my favorite question to ask you today, just because I really value, I know students are at the end of receiving all of this information and getting the exposure and the experience to go through Project Lead the Way classes, but obviously the teacher is the catalyst to that. And I think it can revitalize a teaching career, and I think it shows major differences. And in you in particular, are in such a unique experience, because you do teach core classes, but you also teach Project Lead the Way. So I'd love to hear more, or if you could share a little bit more about what it's like been teaching a Project Lead the Way classroom, and how has that impacted your career?
absolutely. Well, I'm entering my 32nd year of teaching, and it started, way back in the day, before we even had internet, 1992. Internet came around 94. So I've seen a lot of changes occur in my life with education. And one of the big things is, like Miranda said, is that I teach core classes too. So being a rural district, I teach AP biology, honors biology, human anatomy, physiology. Then I also am certified to teach Introduction to Engineering Design, which is IED, Environmental Sustainability, which is ES, and then our capstone course, Engineering Design and Development, EDD. So I get both worlds, where I'm a core teacher and a PLTW teacher. But one of the coolest things I found out about myself, and I like to use this analogy, and I'm very humbled. I get the opportunity to be a master teacher, and I get to help teachers across the United States with Engineering Design and Development, EDD, and ES. And I often share this story about, what is a PLTW teacher and how it really has influenced me. So before PLTW, I'm going to do a little analogy of a tour guide. And we've all been on tours, and you can think back of, like, what kind of tour you most recently been on, whether you maybe went to a museum, a sports stadium, something like that. So that's the kind of if you can picture what the tour guide is doing, and then the analogy also will play with a river raft guide. If you've ever been down a rafting company or been on a raft, or you can maybe picture what's going to happen there. So, but before PLTW, I feel like my teaching was more like a tour guide. So, a tour guide's a very knowledgeable person provides a great tour. They in fact know a lot about what they're doing. For example, so if you're in a museum, you know, how this person, this tour guide knows exactly how long to stay in an exhibit, knows what exhibit's going to be up next, knows the pace that they need to be on. They know to throw a little joke here or there to keep the attention. But you know, the people out there in the tour rarely even get to interact. They're just trying to keep up. And the people in the back, if they can't hear, it's like, well, hopefully they can stay with it and stay with the whole tour. The tour guide keeps doing the same tour over and over and over. Maybe if some new exhibit comes in, they have to learn a little bit and do that. So, and I look at like, and I'm not poking fun at any kind of like the core subjects, but I am a core subject teacher. And I feel sometimes you can get trapped into that tour guide where it's the same thing over, maybe something new, but you can fall into that tour guide mode where PLTW literally, and I'm being very front forward here, literally back in 2010, when we brought this in, it kind of rejuvenized and revitalized what I was doing. And I picture myself more like a river raft guide. And so if you're a river raft guide, you're going to have a smaller group maybe, but you can have a bigger group of students. But you're a river raft guide, you still got to be very knowledgeable about the raft itself. You're going to do some education about how to put the life jacket on, how to hold the oar properly, and maybe a little bit of safety jargon here and there, some terminology about, you know, what's going to happen. However, what the biggest difference is, the tour guide is the main rage on the stage, where a raft guide, they become part of this to solve this problem, to get from point A to point B down the river. That's our major goal, the river being whatever we're doing, that real life problem that we're trying to solve. So that river raft guide jumps on the raft, just like all the other participants are on there, and you're in this thing together, literally in this together. And the cool thing about a river is the river's changing constantly, daily. The height of the river could be different. We get in that, and my path down that river is not always going to be the same. I could end up going backwards. Somebody might fall out. I got to grab them, put them back in. We come to a fork in the river. I got to go right or left. And if I need to choose wisely, if not, and whatever we choose, we go with it, because I know we're going to eventually get down there. And when we actually get down there, you know, everyone, including me, if I'm the river raft guide, we're working hard to paddle, stay the course. And in the end, completing the challenge, completing that real world problem, that's the great sense of accomplishment. Another thing is PLTW, we ask our students to step out of their comfort zone all the time. As a PLTW instructor, I'm stepping out of my comfort zone all the time also, because I don't know all the answers, especially like when I'm doing EDD, the capstone course. I don't even know what the solutions, what the students are going to be working on until they start determining what their problem is going to be, what they're going to work on all year. And that's the greatest thing. If I can show my vulnerabilities, I don't know everything. We need to go seek these experts out in our community, in our state, in our nation. You forge those community partnerships. And things that we heard earlier by the administration today was awesome. That those soft skills, those skills that the student needs to go out into the community, work with this partner, work with these people to solve this real world problem. So I'm more of a river raft guide now, not a tour guide. And that has actually gone into my other classes like AP biology. I do more exploration. Let's figure something out. We don't always have to have the answer in the end of the lab. It's great not to know the answer.
It's great. And honestly, it's such a real life experience in every facet for students. And I think in particular, in my small conversations with you, Tracy, that I found out is that if an adult can showcase that vulnerability and that level of, I don't know, but I'm here to support you, the students are able to do that too. And in the real world, they're going to take those soft skills that they're learning from you and apply that in so many facets of their life, not just in their career, but also in their personal lives too. So I appreciate your vulnerability and sharing that story and sharing that analogy. I think it's great. And I think I have one final question to kind of sum it all up, and as well as to provide some advice for anybody either trying to continue to keep their program, get student enrollments up, or even just adding it. But we know, and sometimes maybe I know because I work with school administrators a lot on this, but there are many ways to implement PLTW programs into the school day. So can you share a little bit more about how your school in particular implements the program, and also any advice for how schools can build the case to keep and continue growing the program?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. Just because being rural, school district, every time we add a class at our school, it takes away from another class in a sense. So we as a school really try to make sure we're all on this whole, like, I've heard the word STEAM before. And in our case, arts are very important. So is the agriculture is very important. We have a working farm on our school. So we have a really big ag program. Just to stay together with this whole STEM is not just PLTW, but it's your other science, technology, engineering, mathematical classes. We're all together in this path to make our students who they are. We're one piece of this big puzzle. One thing too is, like, I love to have my school board is so on board with PLTW over the years. I've had the fortunate opportunity to teach their children, but in those, if I don't have their children, I invite every single time I get, every chance I can get is get a board member and an administrator into our PLTW room and have them interact with the students to see what they're doing. One way that we keep our program going and sustainable, I believe, is that every year we have a open house in the springtime where we invite the community to come in, and we don't have Gateway or launch. I wish we did have launch and Gateway. We do not have that, but we invite every 8th grade parent to come to our showcase, and we get a big turnout. And what we do is, during this open house, is that we have our 5 courses showcase. We have students present different projects, different prototypes that they're working on, and then my engineering, design, and development teams will present their final solution to their problems that evening. And it's been a really well attended open house. And I also invite all our industry in town that help sponsor and be our partners that are within my community to this open house as well. And I think that's one of the best things that we've done.
That's awesome. And I can personally attest, not to your school, but I have been to like an open house with those showcases, and the community does get really involved, and it's so great seeing that parents can see that the end results of some of those challenges or projects or problems that the students have put so much time and energy in investing in. And I think you may have just been off a next step, which is convincing your board to get on board at least with Gateway, because that would be really cool.
Yep.
And an easy way to sustain that problem and build those students up to be ready for your courses at the high school level. So thank you so much, Tracy, for taking the time to share your experience. With anyone that's in this breakout room, I encourage you to put any questions in the chat for Tracy. I'm gonna continue going on with a couple other things, but Tracy is definitely and clearly able to answer a lot of the engineering questions that you have here today. And one of the best ways that we can show really is by visiting schools to show you what a PLTW classroom is about. So I have a blank screen right now because I'm about to play a video for you. Since we are not able to physically go and join a classroom today, we do have a short recording of like what that could potentially look like in your school or in your class. I just want to make sure that I shared it with audio, of course. There we go. If you want to find out some schools in your area that are implementing PLTW to maybe check them out, I did put in the chat our school locator, which is located on our website. So you can take a look in your area to see where that could be and reach out either to me, to them, or to your PLTW team member to schedule or set up a visit. So one of the other things that I want to talk to you about was moments ago, we heard from our panelists how they've seen firsthand the way that PLTW has transformed the learning and teaching in their schools. But the first step that transformation process is creating a strategic plan, one that meets their school vision and goals to expand opportunity for all students. And part of that plan is having a clear view of the required investments and identify all the funding sources available to you. PLTW programs vary in cost, but each program includes investments in 3 different categories, or 3 different buckets is what I usually say. We have the participation fees, professional development, and then supplies and equipment. The participation fee is an annual fee that covers all of the curriculum access and software rights for your PLTW programs. To be able to teach one of our courses, a teacher must be trained by PLTW in our core training experience. This is an online training led by some of the best PLTW teachers in the country, like Tracy himself. Lastly, our curriculum is project-based and very hands-on, so therefore some equipment and supplies that you will need for your implementation as well. So now that we know a little bit more about the investments needed, let's talk about some of the funding opportunities to help your programs grow. We have several different types of grants at Project Lead the Way. Every year we have a variety of grants available for all of the different programs in our pathways. We have grants for brand new programs as well as program expansion. These PLTW grants are made possible by our partnerships with leading organizations across the country. Over the last 10 years, with the support from generous partners, PLTW has distributed over $75 million in school grants to more than 6,600 pre-K through 12th grade schools. And this year, we have more grants available to schools than ever before. If you're looking to make a bigger impact in your district with PLTW by adding new programs, new PLTW grants will cover the cost of teacher training as well as the program participation fees. We have other grants that also cover equipment and supplies as well. So please check out our grant opportunity webpage to find out more and schedule a meeting with your local PLTW team member. And truly, our website has undergone a huge makeover, and it is really easy to filter for what program, what state you're in, to see exactly what opportunities for funding that are available through these grants. Your PLTW local team member can also help you and your district with a vision in your grant application as well. Through these grants, PLTW will partner with your school and your district to help you through that implementation journey. Applying for PLTW grants is easy through our simple application process located on your MyPLTW account. If you don't already have one, you can create an account and it's very easily accessible on our website. We award grants on a rolling basis from July 1st to June 30th, which is our fiscal year, very similar to school fiscal years. So schools may submit applications annually by school, so it's by school, by program. PLTW will keep these applications on file until June 30th of each year, so we can consider schools for more than one grant opportunity throughout the funding cycle. Our PLTW grant opportunities are amazing, and especially this year, and we encourage everyone to apply. Evidence-based support. So noting the specific call out to our evidence-based curriculum, I want to be sure you know our evidence papers. One for each grade band, which will enable you to dive deeper into the structure of our evidence-based curriculum, learn more about our unique problem-based learning, which is our PBL approach, and review the research supporting the positive impact PLTW has on student achievement. And you can download these resources also from our website. Besides the PLTW grants, there are several funding opportunities from federal opportunities for you to utilize. I know our panelists at the beginning had mentioned a couple of those, and what they could be, but to help you break it down and compare, we've created a funding side-by-side resource, also available on our website. This will help you see what federal funds are available and which ones can be used for our 3 investment areas. You're probably also wondering, where do I start? We want to help you with that too. So some of the next steps. I would recommend that you connect with a PLTW team member to discuss any questions that you have. You can visit pltw.org. On our PLTW engineering page, you can also you can use the range to find all the resources like course outlines, course resumes, and the standards connection to help plan your implementation process. Read about the blog stories or about how other schools have unlocked student potential while using Project Lead the Way. To gain access to that funding resources or more information on ARP, Perkins, ESSER, ESSA, go to our funding and grant opportunities page. And also be sure to apply for the grant funding at mypltw.org through your mypltw account. So this concludes the content of our webinar today, but Tracy and I are here to answer your questions. Please either add your questions to the chat or seriously just come off mute. We're more than happy to talk through anything. For those of you who won't be staying on, thank you again for your time. Within a week of this webinar, you will receive an email with the recording and additional resources to help answer any questions that you may have. If you would like to connect one-on-one with a PLTW team member to develop your own individualized implementation plan for your school or your district, feel free to contact the Solution Center, which is available 24/7 at solutioncenter@pltw.org. That would be the email address, or our website or phone by 877-335-7589. This information will also be included in the follow-up email as well. So thank you so much.